I record 7 o'clock each year.
Right. Well, good evening, everyone. It is 7 p.m. I will call to order the July 19th meeting of the Town of St. Andrews County Advisory Committee. I will first with a record of attendance. We've got everyone here except for Mr. Tanner. And at the stage for approval of the agenda. Approve. Or, excuse me, I guess a motion. Is there a second? Councilor London. If there are no amendments or any discussion on the agenda, all those in favor of proceeding with this agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, so that's our roadmap. And as we get going, we want to recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Peskotomuhkati people, and will there be any declarations of conflict of interest? There being none, we move ahead. Everyone has in their package the minutes from June 21st meeting. If there is no questions arising from those minutes, I will be looking for a motion to do that. Thank you, Councilor Ryan, the seconder. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. And if there's no discussion on the minutes from last month, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. None opposed, those minutes are approved. Thank you very much. All right, so we are moving ahead. Our agenda items, we have no presentations, no delegations, we have no zoning applications, but we have a couple of variance applications tonight. So our first item is PAC 230704. This is a couple variance applications for 6 O'Neill Farm Road, PID 151571134. And I believe that this plan report is this time. Do you want to take us through?
Yeah, that's my file. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I will share my slides with you in 2 seconds. Oh, it's not showing the PowerPoint. There we go. Okay. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I have a variance application for you tonight. Item number PAC 230704 in St. Andrews. The applicant is Chris Hannon, who is the contractor of the owner, and the property is zoned estate residential ER. This zone is usually for larger properties that are not within the town plat. And as we all know, the O'Neill Farm Road has lots of larger properties, and this one is just one of them. The applicant proposed to build a house and a garage. The 2 structures are on separate applications. The house itself has already received building permit approval, and it is the garage that we will be discussing tonight. The garage is a building with garage space and an accessory dwelling unit, or I'll be called ADU in my presentation tonight. So the garage requires 2 variances. One is a location variance to allow the garage to be placed 12 feet closer to the front property line, which is the road, than the house. And this is because the zoning bylaw usually doesn't allow accessory structures to be located closer to the front property line than the main structure. And that's why this proposed location requires a variance. And the second request for the garage is a size variance. Like I just said, the garage contains a garage space and accessory dwelling unit space. So to accommodate both allowed use, accommodate both functions, the garage needs to be slightly bigger. So the size variance is 393.8 square feet to allow the garage to be 1,298 square feet in gross floor area. The request here, the first one is under section 2.8 of the municipal plan policy, is regarding housing, which essentially says that accessory dwelling units should be encouraged. And the second policy is under section 2.4, general land use and development, which says council shall recognize the special character of St. Andrews as being worthy of attention and enhancement. Council shall implement policy guideline of adjacent uses. And number two, continuity of streetscapes with respect to the use, scale, and design of buildings and other structures, which is a relevant policy to the two variance requests tonight. For consultation, Town Public Works provided comments regarding stormwater management, water and sewer hookup, and post-construction road repair. You will find the exact comments in the planning report. So those conditions have been communicated to the applicant as conditions of the building permit approval for the house, and it will also be conditions for the building permit approval for the garage once PAC has made a decision tonight. There's also a mail out to residents living within 100 meters of this subject property. And if we have received any comments, we can share the comments with PAC after the presentation tonight. When considering variances, the Community Planning Act states that the request needs to be desirable for the development of the land, and it should be in keeping with the general intent of the bylaw. The zoning bylaw's intent here is to make sure that accessory structures such as a garage is clearly incidental and subordinate to the main building. In this case is the house. So for this proposal, the house will be significantly larger than the garage. I believe it's almost twice the size. And if we look at the conceptual drawing in the top left corner, it's clear that the house is having a much wider frontage than the garage. And building mass wise, it's quite large and larger than the accessory structure, which is the garage. So it is very unlikely that the garage will be seen as a second main building on the property. So it will be clear visually that the garage is incidental and subordinate to the house, which is the main structure. And also, as we just mentioned, O'Neill Farm Road has lots of larger properties with larger buildings. So the size of this garage is not going to be a problem. It will be pretty compatible with the character of the neighborhood, which is what the municipal plan policy encourages. The location variance, on the other hand, is, I think, what would require a bit more attention from PAC, mainly because there is sufficient room to meet location requirement for this garage, aka the garage doesn't have to be located closer to the road than the house. The applicant or the owner states that the reason for this location variance is to preserve the ocean view for the main house, which is, an important factor for them to enjoy the property. Which is understandable. But from a planning perspective, we have to consider a bit more than just that factor. After staff reviewing this request, there are a few factors that would help mitigate the impact of this location variance. The first one is that both the garage and the house will be located pretty far from the road. We saw the site plan on the slide before, so will be about 200 feet or more from the road. So that will significantly reduce the visual impact of this location variance. And also we see in the pictures on the left, this lot is quite treed at the moment, and I believe the property owner intends to keep it as treed as possible, like right now. So there will be a good visual buffer for the garage as well. So again, that reduces the visual impact of having the garage slightly closer to the road than the house. So here is what PAC should have a discussion, weigh the pros and cons of all the factors, and make a decision on this variance request. But as stated, staff believes there is good reason to approve it. So staff is recommending PAC to approve this location variance with terms and conditions to make sure that the garage is compatible, the impact of the location variance is minimized, and also to allow a desirable development of this property. So staff recommends that the Planning Advisory Committee of the Town of St. Andrews in gross floor area to allow the garage to be 1,298 square feet. And staff recommends PAC of the Town of St. Andrews to approve a variance to allow the garage to be located 12 feet closer to the front lot line than the house, subject to the following terms and conditions. Number one, applicant shall maintain a landscaped buffer in the required front yard of this property, except the portion used for driveway access. And FYI, landscaped buffer and required front yard are defined terms, and PAC is provided with the exact definitions in the report. And the second recommendation is that applicants shall ensure that all stormwater runoff would not affect neighboring properties, which is to address town's public works comments. So to reiterate, under the Community Planning Act, PAC has the authority to approve staff's recommendations as presented, or PAC can approve the request with modifications, or PAC can overturn the recommendations. So basically to refuse the variance request. All right, that's the end of my presentation.
Well, thank you very much. Do any members of the committee have any questions for this application? Is there anyone like? Who's a question? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I just have a small question. I know, that you say the applicant tends to keep the tree, the lot tree. My concern is that what if he decides not to keep the lot tree? The tree,
That's our condition.
it's in,
Or that's the landscape.
no, that's different.
It's
Landscape,
different?
the landscape buffer is required, is that not correct,
And the
Vivian?
front yard. We're setting this condition.
No. The tree, the lot is tree, yes, the applicant wants to keep the lot tree, yes. But there's no guarantee that he will keep the lot tree, that he will keep the lot tree.
We're just making sure that with the condition that the front yard will still be treed at the road, so we won't see it. She's recommended it as a condition to maintain a landscape buffer in the required front yard and set the portion for the driveway access.
But, okay, just a minute, Vivian, the landscape buffer is something that's defined in the municipal act, correct? Oh, hello?
Yep, if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
It's right here.
Yep, so if you look at I believe the end of the report, there is a definition of landscape buffer, which essentially says that there has to be trees, evergreen trees or deciduous trees, like all sorts of different trees. So if they are required to maintain a landscaped buffer, they are required to keep those trees there as visual buffer in the required front yard.
So is there a number how wide that landscape buffer needs to be?
25 feet.
Yep, just through you, Madam Chair, again. So the required front yard is also defined. If you look at, I believe, the definition after landscape buffer, it says that the required front yard is, I believe, 25 feet from the front property line. So if PAC agrees that that should be the condition for this approval, then the applicant or the contractor is required to maintain that buffer within the first 25 feet of the front of the property.
Okay, maybe I'm just confused. Only that I thought a landscape buffer, because we've had these before, and they were maybe like 1.5 meters wide or 2 meters wide or something like that. We're not looking at that condition for this application.
No, so this condition specify that a landscape buffer has to be within the required front yard. So the first 25 feet has to be treed, essentially.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions for the planner?
Decent class.
Is the applicant online interested in speaking or should?
I don't see the applicant online here, so, and I will also note that the town did not receive any correspondence in regards to this. No opposition, no letters, nothing was submitted to the town as of, oh, and apparently Vivian's gonna hand it. Go ahead, Vivian.
The applicant is not here, but I believe their representatives are in the audience.
Okay, Vivian, can you remind me who the representative is? Because I see Alicia McDowell raising her hand, so I just want to make sure
Yep.
before I'm allowed to talk. Okay, thank you. Just give me a second. Alicia, you have the floor to council or PAC, sorry. If you would like to speak, you have the right to do so now.
Hi there, thank you everyone. So my name is Alicia McDowell. I'm one of the architects who's working on the project. And we've been speaking back and forth with Vivian about the variances. So myself and I believe Susan Fitzgerald is also on the call.
She is.
Oh, okay, perfect. So we do have a few drawings we could share and we're happy to answer any questions as well.
Alicia, if you have the ability to share your screen, it is available. So if you want to share pictures, you can do so.
Okay, sure.
Oh, I may have to move you to a panelist, so just give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
If it'll let.
Okay.
Okay. You're a panelist now, Alicia. Please unmute and you can share your screen now. Can you hear me, Alicia?
Hi, sorry, yes.
Yep, you should be good to share your screen now.
Oh dear. Sorry, I think I may have accepted the panelist
No, I
position on
won't.
the wrong device.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. Mm. Would it be possible to receive that invite again for the panelist?
I will have to take you off. I'm gonna have to change your roles again because you're already in as panelist. So give me 1 second.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
Nope, just give me 1 second. I'll switch you back and forth. Apologies.
Thank you.
Pictures. Patience.
Alicia, you have the you're now panelist again.
feet. Oh, the front of the garage, it's almost 2/3 of the block. Yes. Yeah, that's how it's.
Lisa, can you hear me?
Things wooden lot, is the last one. Right?
Can you hear us, Alicia?
The building.
Yes.
Right next
Okay.
to the water. One on the other side.
Are you able to share your screen?
Is there something we can?
Alicia, is there anything you would like to speak to PAC about the photos as you look for them? If not, I mean, Chair Stewart, what would you like to do?
Get over with.
Does anyone?
Yes.
No, I'm not entirely certain what we're waiting to look at. But if, if it's becoming maybe we should move on.
I guess my question to you, Madam Chair, is PAC comfortable with the information that was provided by the planners at this point?
I
And
think
questions
based on
answered.
what we're looking at, what we're reviewing, I think I could give plenty of info unless something Vivian said needs to be updated or changed. I think we have plenty.
Planner Peng, do you have any other further comments or to bring forward on this? Nope. The other option is, Madam Chair, you do have Susan Fitzgerald that also has her hand raised. That's part of this. So would you like?
I don't want to cut them off from being able to comment, but yeah,
Yeah, go ahead, Planner Peng.
Go ahead, Ms. Hunt.
Madam Chair, as a possible solution, Alicia could send me her photos and I can share it through my screen while she talks if that's acceptable to PAC.
As long as the applicant feels that they're, I just want to make sure that they're being given a chance to.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Perhaps Susan, if she has her hand raised, she may have the slides available.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
I'm sorry about that.
Yep, no worries. Ms. Fitzgerald, do you have the photos ready, or are you prepared to speak to PAC?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yep, I'm going to promote you to panelist.
Okay, great.
So you can share the screen here. So just give me 1
Thank
second.
you.
It'll take a minute. It'll ask you to participate as a panelist. You should be good now to participate as a panelist and share your screen. Okay. And if you want to unmute yourself, you have the floor to PAC.
Great. So hello, everybody. My name is Susan Fitzgerald. I'm the architect on this project along with Alicia. So here is do you see in front of you the slides?
Yes, we do.
Here is an image of from the ocean side of the project. So this perhaps shows it a little bit more clearly. When you look down the driveway, this is the relationship. You look down the driveway, you see straight out to the ocean, and off to the side of the driveway is the garage. So it does not in any way impact the view. The garage is in line with the house. And the back of the garage accessory building is 12 feet behind the line of the house. So these two align, and at the back it's just very slightly projects towards the rear property line. I think what's very important about this property is actually it's seen more from the beach. And so having them in line makes a great deal of sense, both from the ability of the owner of the property to see the ocean, but also as people walk along the beach, it will feel more subservient to the house. So the accessory building feels more subservient. You don't see it from the road, and it's more subservient from the ocean. So here we see the two again, the accessory dwelling, and the garage, and then the house. And then just to see it in a three-dimensional view, if you were to stand in the middle of the trees, you would see the two side by side, but the accessory structure is very much, again, a smaller, lower. There would be no recognizing it as the primary house structure. And here we see it from the other side, from the water side, and we see again, it's a much smaller building than the house. So it will never feel like it's sort of trying to be the house, or it won't be mistaken for being the house. And it's always this, and I don't think it will impact the views I don't think it will impact anybody's experience of the site from either the road or from the ocean. Here is a view down the driveway. So you'll see that as you look down the driveway, you would see right out to the ocean, and the accessory would be hidden behind these trees with the main house beyond that. So I think, and then this is looking at it in the opposite direction, away, from the property to the road, and it just shows that there's a greater number of trees in there, and the owner of the property has every intention of keeping a buffer of trees. They will really appreciate that, and they very much want to do that. So here again is a sort of final image of the house and the accessory structure. Perhaps I will stop sharing at that point, unless maybe some people have got questions about this.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right.
Right, well, when it comes back to us, we have two variances being requested, so we'll deal with these in two separate motions. The recommendations are at the bottom of this planning report. So I would be having discussion. I guess we can just forward if someone wants to make a motion with regards to the variance of 393.8 square meters.
I'd like to make a motion for 6 O'Neill Farm Road, PID 15157-134, that we approve a variance of 398.8 square feet in gross area floor to allow a garage to be 1,298 square feet.
Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, I'm just curious, there's actually two items on that. There's the variance. Oh, you wanted to, oh, sorry, my apologies.
Yeah, I'm doing them separate. Sorry.
Okay, nope, so just so I know I'm tracking.
No, thank you. Okay. Is there any discussion about that motion, the seconded motion? If there is none, if you're ready for the question, all those in favor of approving a variance of 393.8 square feet gross floor area to allow a garage to be 198 square feet, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And none opposed, that variance is approved. We also have a recommendation for the variance to allow the garage to be 12 feet closer to the road. There's some suggested terms and conditions on there as well. If anyone would like to make that motion, or one.
Your show.
Weren't here.
I'd make a motion for 6 O'Neill Farm Road, PID 15157-134. For David Smith to approve the variance to allow the garage to be located 12 feet closer to the front lot line than the house, subject to the conditions that the applicant shall maintain a landscape buffer in the required front yard of the property, except the portion used for the driveway access, and the applicant shall ensure that all stormwater runoff will not affect the neighboring properties.
Thank you very much. Ms. Mokel, do I have a seconder for that motion? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there any discussion on that? If there is none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving a variance for 6 O'Neill Farm Road to allow the garage to be 12 feet closer with the recommended conditions, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, that variance is also approved. Thank you very much. Now move on to reference number PAC 230703. This is an application for 157 Water Street. Looking at placing a sign, page sign, and so Ms. Hartford is going to take us through this planning report. Hi, how are you?
I'm well. Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so this is, you're going to notice some discrepancy in the name, but it's only because the owner has changed from the time that my report was completed till now. So this is Gaillard Day Sun Unlimited application for a variance. A former owner was Stephen Warna. The applicant is requesting a variance in the height of a fascia sign, and the applicant is requesting a variance in the placement of a fascia sign. So as I said, when the PAC report was prepared, 157 Water Street was owned by Stephen Warna. On July 13, 2023, the property was registered to Gaillard Day and Son Limited. Mr. Warna gave permission to apply for the variance application on his behalf when the initial application was received. So the property is zoned central commercial in the historical business district. The current use of the building is for office space as well as storefronts. Both are allowed main uses in the CC zone. Z 2201, section 8.12.12 limits the height of a fascia sign to 24 inches with a placement between the first floor moldings or cornice and the bottom of the second floor windows. And the best practices in the secondary municipal plan recommend that the signs located above glazing shall be contained within horizontal and vertical rhythms of the facade. And the secondary municipal plan 2022, section 2.25, mounted signs are best located in the middle facade or above the storefront. This is the sign that the applicant has proposed. You can see it's 24 inches here, but the arch here does take it over the maximum of 24 inches. So they would be applying for a variance of 12 inches. This is the picture the applicant had provided just to show what it would look like on the building. This picture would be a little older, so there's more storefronts in this area here. There's another storefront. And you can see this is a picture of in July of 2023. You can see the storefront here, the Cold Jack Cafe, Tradewinds, Andrew Harrison's law office, and the sign would be above these third floor windows. I did take some pictures of other signs that are within the area that are over the 24 inches. So you see the Crazy Moose here and Jolly Breeze. And there are others that are a little over that maximum of 24 inches. So the owner is requesting a variance of 12 inches in height of a fascia sign, as well as a variance to mount the sign over the top of the third floor windows. The proposed placement complies with the secondary municipal plan, as it will be in the middle of the facade. The signage is an overall high quality design, and the sign will be painted wood or sandblasted material to look like carved wood. The proposed sign does comply with all applicable standards given within the zoning bylaws. So with font, heavy colors, that it all does comply, and it does comply with the standards for the width on the building. So cannot be over the 90%. Or cannot extend outside the first floor windows, and which it does not. Variances can be applied in situations where it's reasonable and desirable for the development of land and within the general intent of the bylaw. And the general intent of the bylaw for fascia signs is to reduce the advertising clutter. You do not want visual domination on the building, and you want to promote a compatible aesthetic pattern. It is staff's opinion that the proposed sign variances are reasonable and desirable for the development of land and are within the general intent of the bylaw. Staff recommends that the Planning Advisory Committee approve the requested variances to allow for a fascia sign, as the variances are reasonable and desirable for the land development and are within the general intent of the bylaw. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Yeah.
Judy, is it still Steve Warona applying for the permit, or did you change the name to what? Who was applying now?
So Stephen was the one who applied. So Stephen was the owner.
Yeah.
He did give authorization to Brandon McGee to apply for the permit.
Yeah.
And he had known the building was going to close on June 30th, but it didn't take until June or July 13th for the deed to be represented on Service New Brunswick. When I did my report on the 12th, it still hadn't changed hands at that time, changed owner, sorry. So that's why the report was done in Stephen's name, but that's only because the report had been finalized prior to the closing of the property.
So the applicant is now Guy Arday, or is it Brandon McGee?
Guy Arday but Brandon McGee would be on behalf of Guy Arday. Yes.
Okay.
And I have a quick question. We're looking at the looking at that building, there's a lot of signs on that building. Does that cause any concerns from a maximum signage perspective? I know they're all separate businesses. That's fine. I just wondered. Yes, it is a big building.
But also, I think the issue is there's not really a fascia board on that building. That's a typical fascia board.
Mr. Ingles.
Sorry.
Thank you.
The issue is that there's not a fascia board on the building. So typically, when you have a fascia board, it organizes the signage. You direct your eye to that as well. So we don't have that with this building.
Sorry, it's a question. Judy, is this gonna be a curb sign, or is it gonna be a flat sign with the decal on the front? How's it going to look? You're on mute.
You're on mute.
I'm sorry about that. It's either going to be the carved sign or it will be the painted, or sorry, sandblasted material to look like a carved. So it's going to paint wood or sandblasted material to look like a carved
Okay,
wood sign.
so it'll be raised and look like a curb sign, okay,
Exactly, yes.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is the applicant online? Wishing to speak? No, all right. Anyone from the public here to offer any opinions at this point?
No, and I can also confirm that we received no comments from the public in regards to the mail-outs.
My concern about the sign. Well, then,
so do I, just to clarify, is there an example of a building in St. Andrews? Which building would that be?
If you look at the buildings across the street, the leather house going down,
Right.
those are typical. They have a one story and then there's always a band of the
Right.
building, and that is like, so like that's a fascia band, and you put any advertising on top of that.
Oh,
So,
but this building really doesn't lend itself to that.
well, this
Yeah.
building is a bit of a hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unfortunately. So we don't, so there was never designed to have a fascia.
right,
there.
okay. Good, thanks, just clarification.
that's. All right, is there any further discussion going once, going twice? If not, I will, this application actually contains two variances, but looks like we're being asked to address it in one, is that right?
That was what was presented, yes.
All right, well, then, just to keep us on our toes, there is a recommendation for a motion on the planning report, if someone wants to, stab at that. Yeah, it's on to us. Thank you.
So I move that the PAC for the town of St. Andrews approves the variance request for 157 Water Street, PID 013-19458 for Gaillard Day. Correct, to allow for the fascia sign height and placement of the fascia sign.
Thank you very much. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Second. If there's no further discussion, I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the variances for 157 Water Street as recommended by staff, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Excellent. Those variances are approved. All right, back to our little agenda here. All right, so we have no terms and conditions applications, no sign applications, nothing under new business, nothing under PAC member comments. We have no post items. And all that being said, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:40.
Thank you, planners. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Vivian.
Cut right off on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night,
Have a
everyone.
good night.
Night.
Night.